Chinese teams. We just had, of course, IG versus World Elite, which is big organizations, but these two teams are very new. They both qualified, I believe, through LSPL, basically getting through that expansion tournament that got them into LPL after playing in the amateur leagues a little. And yeah, when you think about Snake, everyone's like, I don't really know anything about this team, except their top laner plays Fizz and AD LeBlanc.
Yeah, exactly right. And he goes off on both of them, which is a really scary thing. So when someone has such a deep champion pool like that, he can absolutely carry anything out. And the way they win games is he literally keeps pushing. He used to do on Xiaohu a lot until he just gets into their base. And then they have to send attention there, and his team just picks up objectives. However, he has been grouping a little bit more lately, so we'll see how it plays out.
I just love the fact that you have to say his picks of Fizz, LeBlanc, and Yasuo in the top lane. I mean, Flandre... China as a region is known for doing its own thing a lot of the time and kind of mixing it up, and there's a lot of special stuff. Like support Annie was a big thing here for a while. Jungle Yorick at one point was a thing, but China as a region, like Flandre is going above and beyond what is expected of like interesting stuff to come out of the region. He's leading a lot here.
Yeah, he certainly is, but he's going up against a really solid top laner in Leftme as well, who's a little bit more solid than Flandre. Flandre is a little bit more unpredictable, you would have to say, going in. But it should still definitely be an exciting matchup in that top lane.
Yeah, I think Gametee are an interesting team. They seem to be going from strength to strength just generally. I saw them play actually in a recent match towards the end of last year, like the late end. And they were one of the teams that played really controlled, really passive, very objective-focused League of Legends, which was weird for a Chinese team. And then all of a sudden, next few games, maybe a day later, and they're playing completely differently. So they're still going through, I guess, the trials and tribulations of being a new team and trying to figure out what they want to do. They've had quite a lot of roster changes and a lot of playstyle things that they're getting used to. But so far, shown a lot of depth and a lot of just a big ceiling here and a lot of potential for this new team.
Yeah, well, the thing that happened was that they were coming together. They were very, very solid, as you mentioned. They played the game slow. They were very objective focused, but they did still like the big team fights that came in. Now they're playing a little bit more faster pace. They do like to skirmish a little bit more, but they can swap between styles. And as you said, they were one of the teams that were definitely on the rise. Before this Korean invasion into the LPL happened, they were one of those teams that you're like, you know what, they can start shaking things up. And then unfortunately, it's just come through. So you would expect them not to be one of the strongest teams, but one of the teams that will take games off people and really upset some of these bigger names.
I mean, you know, all Korean imports aside, who have looked so far quite good, just with the one game we've had already, this is a completely new league. There's a lot of room for teams to move and grow. It's a long league as well. And these teams all play a lot of games against each other as the LPL continues. So Gametee, the type of team that can come into this sort of league, maybe not have the best first split, or maybe start growing and get through. But I think if they make it back especially, they stick together, have a lot of potential to really rise up the ranks and challenge even the teams with a lot of these top-tier Koreans.
Yeah, well, the thing about a team like Gametee who can play two very different styles means that you can surprise people, because if you pick for one of their styles and they switch it on you with a fifth pick and really go like early game or very late game and you've picked to counter the opposite, then they can take games away from you just in champion select alone. They do actually pick ban quite well, which is one of the things that is sometimes criticism about the LPL, the pick ban phase. However, yeah, they're just one of those teams that, as you said, the longer they spend together, the more they can develop and get a unique style and an identity for themselves. You feel that they will continue to grow.
Yeah, and I think with both these teams, that's a very similar thing. It's kind of interesting. We have a semi-established amateur team here in Gametee who have gone from strength to strength but are trying to find their own identity and really maybe develop their star players more if that comes about, or just become a really solid team that wins through teamwork. Because as we've said, the most endearing thing we can say about the team from the few games we've seen so far is that they very fluid, which is impressive for a League of Legends team. But Snake, man, I don't even know. Like, Flandre is already this crazy guy in the top lane, but who knows what else can come out of that team. There's just so much we don't know yet about them.
Yeah, well, I guess the criticism that we do sometimes get out of them is that they do have that one carry versus the three that are on Gametee. So you have to wonder that if they are going to consistently take games off other teams, they need someone to step it up. Whether it's someone in the bottom lane, like a Crystal, like it's their mid laner, if it's Barker or something like along those lines, they do need someone that can come through and start helping Flandre and control the bottom side of the map. In the past, it was their support, but they do have a new support, we're told, Ella, who may have to grow into the role.
Yeah, and Ella, one of the Korean imports here for this team. So Snake do have two Koreans on their roster as well. I believe the jungler might be the other one, if memory serves correctly. Beast, I think, from the jungle there. So, but unlike, you know, the Dades and the Dandies and the Loopers and the Rookies and the Kikaos and the millions of other Korean players we've seen, these two guys are not as well known as some of the, you know, other championship playing Koreans, the big names that have come over to China to compete. But that doesn't mean they're bad players at all. They've got a lot to prove here. And, you know, they might have come from smaller teams, but who knows? I mean, at this point, Snake are a team full of potential, just like a lot of these teams that have kind of come through the LSPL to play. And curious to see what happens, man, because if anyone starts mimicking Flandre or playing like him on his team or can also be another carry, all of a sudden Flandre's problems go from like the entire game to maybe a few less, and he's got a bit more room to wiggle.
Yeah, and the best thing for Flandre about having the Koreans in the jungle and support position is that if there's one thing Korean jungles are knowing, it's contributing to vision control, and Korean supports are known for that as well. So if they can set up the map well with good vision control and really light up Flandre's side of the map, it means that he won't feel as much pressure if he does want to play that aggressive style because he has added support from his team. So I think the vision control coming out of his team will also be key in this series.
And early days, still in the LPL, of course, but I think just even in our last series alone, Kakao, the addition that's Invictus Gaming, just showed a lot more promise on the vision front, I think, for that team. So maybe with the imports coming in, I mean, everyone talks about, well, can the language barrier be a thing? How good are these players in this region? Because we've seen them playing Korea, a very strong region, arguably still the best in the world. But all this playing moving over, who really knows what's happening? But even just from one set of games, the vision just looked maybe a little bit brighter for a lot of these Chinese teams that have imported Korean players.
Yeah, it certainly did. But the other thing that you can pick up from the last series is how much more aggressive and how freely the Koreans have started playing as well. So we talk about how the Chinese are starting to increase their vision control, but you also have to talk about how much the Koreans are adapting to the meta, and they're kind of taking the best from China as well. So they're coming in here. Kakao was much more free to go in ahead of his team that game. And yeah, it did look like they were just playing, like both teams meeting in the middle and still playing the same style, but a little bit better vision.
And I think that's the best thing to point out is like, yes, a bunch of good Korean players are coming over, but no Chinese team is going to build around its Korean players, I don't think. We'll see actually maybe some of these big stars come in, but you have to adapt. Like you're playing solo queue here in China, it's a whole different world to Korea.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to note is, yeah, we've mentioned a couple of Korean superstars, but they've still got the likes of Cool, Going. We've mentioned Flandre. They have some very, very individually talented, like, huge players. Uzi, Name, you have to mention their AD carries. They've got some of the best bottom lanes in the world. It's funny because you look and you rank the Chinese bottom lanes, and then you go, all right, they're about the 7 best, but you put them in any other region, and they're still very, very solid.
Oh, yeah, the talent in the region as a whole, with all the Koreans coming in and just the local talent as well, phenomenal in the LPL this season, especially with so many teams getting to compete. So it's just great. And I think these are the sort of games that maybe I'm most looking forward to just because we don't know that much about these teams, and we get to learn a lot in just a couple games. Like, you know, we can be like, oh, Dade's playing his Dade, or oh, Dandy's playing his Dandy, but I want to watch these players that people don't know as much and just be like, what on earth is happening in the top lane?
Yeah, definitely. And like even in the mid lane in this game, like Angel Beats is one of those players that you just have to watch because he can absolutely go off, or he does have quieter games. So there are these players that are very, very dynamic, and they just move around the map in such a way and create fights out of absolutely nowhere that can turn, like Scuttle Crab. We talk about objectives. Like Scuttle Crab has become a legitimate objective in China just because of the move speed shrine. If you get that move speed shrine, you can engage whenever you want. Throw a Sivir or a Zillion on top of that with a Maokai, and out of nowhere, you can start fights at blue buff. So I just think that as we see these teams grow, as we mentioned the teams like Gametee, like Snake come through, if they can start stealing games, they can really flip the table.
And that's, I think, a lot of what's also cool about maybe some of these amateur teams moving through as well. They've got a lot to prove for on this stage, and it's a big league. You know, they may have qualified through the amateur circuit, may have had success there, but it's a much bigger stage with big names in a lot of these teams. So I'm just curious to see, like, Gametee and Snake both come in pretty low on general rankings, I think, just kind of moving into this season, but they can shake things up for sure. And the LPL system especially, being a best of 2, I know people have touched on this before, it's really great that every game matters arguably so much more, and it's where the system is designed in such a way that the bottom can definitely affect the top, because you lose games, you lose a point. Like, if you go 2 or you get 3, but if you draw, you only get 1. And that second point can be the difference in the long run as the standings break out towards the end of the split.
Yeah, it certainly can. And the best thing is it gives the team, it's no longer we have nothing to lose, we must win this game to go progress the series. It's like, okay, there's only one more game. Treat it as a completely new series. Let's go in and try and take one game now. So you can set very, very clear objectives for your team, and you can take different strats into different games, or you can just run the same thing repetitively until someone proves that you have to run something else.
Yeah, and I feel like for newer teams especially, that's a great learning experience. You're playing against fantastic teams from your region. You have to play every team at some point. But if you do treat it more like, you know, every game's just its own game, let's take it one at a time, then you can take a lot more away from even a small sample size of games, because you'll maybe able to prepare and focus a bit more. And for teams like Gametee playing, you know, say the really big teams like the OMGs and the IGs, they're going to get a lot out of that experience, and they don't have to play like grueling best of threes or best of fives where they're just like constantly just getting destroyed. You get to reset every time, and that's, I think, part of the reason we also see a decent amount of innovation in China, because pocket strats work very well and you only have to win game to game.
Yeah, definitely. And we speak about China. Like, another key characteristic of China is they're very, very, not only aggressive, but they're emotional League of Legends players. Like, these guys ride highs like no one else. There is a reason we've had these brilliant runs from Starhorn Royal Club going through to finals, because if they have self-belief and back themselves, they can become untouchable at certain points. However, they also go through with certain lows. So having pocket picks actually lifts the morale of your team generally, especially when they start working. And yeah, we've seen some crazy things come out and just absolutely destroy teams.
Yeah, so I think my number one question moving into this series, what does this champ select look like? I'm curious how scared, if at all, Gametee are of Flandre, because they know about the Fizz, they know that he's played all sorts of craziness, but a lot of really good champions exist on this patch. We saw 4 bans the same in both of the games. We had Rek'Sai, Lissandra, LeBlanc was banned as well, and there's one more really key champion that was banned every single game. It does escape me, unfortunately, right now, but there are so many good champions that people just don't want to deal with at all on this patch.
Yeah, so I think Rek'Sai is the one that we will not see get anywhere, or will be a first pick, because she just does everything from a jungle and top lane role. Is that a niche pick that can come through in the top, and does it extremely well. High bases, only has to pick up probably 1 or 2 aggressive items in the top lane, can go pure tank, has that knock-up CC that we talk about so much, not mitigated by anything. So I think Rek'Sai will be the thing that we see taken off the board most. And then I think after that, it's probably Lissandra and Na.
Yep.
Just because of their ability to be able to start fights from Fog of War. Lissandra, of course, can come over the walls, able to lock someone up for such a long time. And if you combo that with something like a Jarvan, you're just going to die every single time. And then Na's kind of the same pick. Na becomes that big tanky guy when he evolves, has a whole AoE team, has the slow, can keep chasing people down. And if you look at how they play around objectives, it's just too dangerous to let heavy CC initiators get through.
Yeah, and Nas being so safe in a lot of his lanes as well, actually being able to bully quite a few, just adds like to problems, basically. And we talk about China having a surprisingly good amount of top lane players now. You mentioned it before. Carry top lane is apparently just hanging out in China playing League of Legends.
Yeah, and it's pretty funny, actually, because a couple of years ago, you probably couldn't have said that. You would have said that they had some fantastic mid laners, a whole fistful of bottom lanes that were just so good. They had some very, very good and unique junglers. You've mentioned like the Yorick that came out. They've played a lot of Nunu as well to supplement their AD carries. But top lane was always a question. You had some brilliant ones that would carry the heck out of games. Then you didn't have any, like, I'm thinking like the PDDs, the go-goings. Yep. And then there was kind of a big drop-off. Now it's kind of smoothed out. And you have some of the young talent coming through and some very, very consistent top laners like Kola, like Horror, that are starting to lift their game.
Yeah. Imported talent obviously helping there as well. So everyone's looking way more solid. But I mean, a champion like you just can't really give away. Even to these teams that, you know, as well know, without as many big stars on them, you just don't want to give champions that enable a lot. So the result of that is when you have like 50% of your bans already decided, basically just based on the strength of them in this patch, and we've already seen in the last series that nobody wants to let the good champions through. Very open in Champ Select. There's a lot of options here, but we are going to get into our first Champ Select of this particular series. Gametee on the left, our blue side. Snake on the right, our red side. Azir going to go in as well. Na and Thresh, the first 3 bans.
Yeah, so Azir off the board. That's an interesting ban. We've seen that Azir can be extremely strong. Pokes out early game well. Doesn't really have a fall-off as soon as he picks up that CDR. Late game beast, but he can be assassinated quite well. Thresh being taken away from Ella, that was a champion I did want to touch on. Plays disengages support quite well. So a uniqueness in China, I guess. They play a lot of initiator support, so Janna probably going to be taken away from Ella.
Yeah, Janna needs to get through, and I feel like the Chinese aren't quite comfortable enough on it yet. They play it well, but I feel like it's just a style that doesn't mesh with them yet. Rek'Sai immediately getting banned there by Snake, so no super surprises there. Thresh just has the unique position of being so versatile that the Chinese supports have just gotten so good at playing him. I mean, everyone's good at Thresh at this level, let's be honest, but the Chinese in particular just know how to use every little bit as Rumble gets a ban there.
Yeah, and they haven't taken the Fizz off the board, so we might be able to see that go up into the top lane on the side of Snake. But Rumble, once again, we talk about team fights, we talk about objective control, just so important in that regard. LeBlanc being the last ban taken away. Yep,
so LeBlanc, another very strong champion, has seen actually 3 for 3 bans so far in today's LPL games. Clearly something that a lot of these players are quite good on. and a lot of assassins are very popular on this patch as well. But Gametee are going to get their first pick here, and if we had to guess, it'd probably be something like Jana.
Yeah, I think it would be something like Jana, maybe Lissandra as well, that flex pick.
She's open. I forgot about that.
Jarvan actually being hovered as well. That's another... Jarvan top and Jarvan jungle are both so strong at the moment, especially if Lissandra is up. If Flandre picks Lissandra here, Jarvan in the first 5 levels has a terrific matchup.
And I like the red side drafting here from Snake as well, knowing that they have to give something good away here, just how the bans have shaken out. Want to give away 1 pick and then take the 2 strong ones for themselves. So any combination of these champions is good, and they do go with Jana Sivir.
Yeah, so the movement speed bottom lane coming out straight away. Good peel and disengage for that Sivir, who is a little bit shorter range, so that's a good support pick up there. And we touched on the Scuttle Trap becoming more and more important. Sivir's ultimate is just the most game-changing ultimate, I believe, in China for an AD carry. It can just get your whole team around the map so much quicker.
It's interesting that Lissandra's still up, by the way, because I feel like one of the reasons Lissandra in particular rose to popularity was because Jana being so good at disengage can't really counter Lissandra's engage.
Yeah, definitely not. And wow, we're getting 2 assassin-esque mages being locked in here with the Kassadin and the Lissandra. So I'm going to say that would be a Lissandra mid lane. I think Kassadin has a couple good top lane matchups, but of course it is that flex pick, can go where either.
I actually like that Gametee are almost unintentionally picking on Flandre here because he doesn't know what his matchup, and they're clearly saving his pick till later in the draft. And he's like, well, this is both sort of awkward. I mean, they're mages, so he's got some stuff, but you play quite differently, I think, against Lissandra versus Kassadin. They've got plenty of flexibility there.
Yeah, but what they have done is they've locked themselves into a double AP composition extremely early in the draft. I was going to say Mundo does very well against it. With the CC on the board, I like the Aurelia pickup. Her passive is going to be brilliant in this and does quite well against both Kassadin and Lissandra, so not going to be counterpicked in either matchup.
A lot of eggs in Crystal's basket right now, by the way, as Nunu will get a pick up here as well as Aurelia coming through there, probably for Flandre. So nothing crazy this game, unfortunately, but he will be playing a very solid and still a good carry top laner, so he can perform very well.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about the Nunu pickup is it's not necessarily just for Crystal here. Aurelia does terrific with Nunu on the other side.
That
slows people down, lets her stick. That Blood Boil on the Heat-10 style is a very, very good 1-2 punch. And with them both going in at the same time, it means that they can't just turn around and blow the Aurelia up. If they dive together, get in there, Nunu can get a good absolute 0 off. They have pretty good zone control with those 2.
Yeah, Nunu Jana is sort of an old school trick where it's like, yeah, I'm going to use this to disengage. You get monsooned out and then have to walk back through Nunu ultimate. Bad times, and lots of movement speed here for Snake here. So consider their last pick. Corki, though, where we picked it with Nami to round out Gametee's lineup.
Yeah, and Corki Nami, not a lane that we talk about having terrific synergy just because of how Corki has to auto attack and weave abilities through it. Nami does well with, I guess, very, very auto attack strong champions like the Caitlyn's, like the Vaynes of the League of Legends, but it does add 1 disengage card through the Nami and gives them a lot of anti-dive, meaning if Snake get ahead in this game, they can stall quite well with a Lissandra with a Nami.
Yeah, I just like that Nami is just such a natural pick into Jana as well. You just want to make sure that everything's okay because Jana's such a dominant support right now. Looks like Snake, though, has picked up their mid laner. I have to assume that's going to be Xerath there for Baka. So a very defensive sort of composition here for Snake.
Yeah, and it looks like Gametee will be taking the Kassadin into the top lane against Aurelia, so it will be, I guess, Xerath versus Lissandra in the mid lane. And from experience, I think that Xerath wins that lane quite well in the early game, able to farm extremely safely. The jungle will have to visit. If he can burn an early flash, he will become immobile against Lissandra at J4. That is just such a devastating combo in the mid lane. But we'll just be able to sit back and farm, I feel, Baka.
Yeah, we've just seen a lot of... I think it's interesting that recently we've seen a lot of tankless League of Legends, or very, like, the front line just doesn't exist the way it used to before. Jarvan's still a great tank if you want to build him that way. People playing Maokai, people playing Renekton a little bit too. And in this game we have, oh my god, my brain.
Aurelia.
It is Aurelia, thank you. Aurelia, but we still see a lot of double AP, or more than we used to. We've got a lot of mobile lineups, kind of relying on your mid and your AD carry to do a lot of damage. I guess just with the trends, how do you feel like that works out? Because they're very interesting compositions, both these sets.
I feel the benefit of double AP going into games like this is if you can control vision, you can lock someone down and blow them up. The advantage that gives you over objectives is just so big at the moment. With the importance of Dragon, Baron, and being able to pick up early inhibitors, with how strong super minions become and normal minions when you have that Baron buff, if you can snipe one person off the map, it just gives you so much more control.
Yeah, I like the new action, though, that's going on here with Jana. I think it's, again, a lot of work here for Crystals. We are going to get into our first game here. Gametee on the left to kick things off in our best of 2. Snake on the right here, our red team for this particular game. As we go through the level 1 again, seen some pretty normal, pretty standard level 1 stuff so far. Yeah,
it looks like they will just both teams be fanning out, trying to get themselves set up for a rather normal level 1.
Other than that, everyone just fanning out here. So pretty curious to see what happens here. Looks like Leo has spotted Bucket in the mid lane there. Tail down the bottom. Gonna get poked off a little bit here by Crystal.
Yeah, just a little bit of a tangle between the AD carries as well. They're still going in.
Yeah, Crystal actually want to go deep, but gets shielded there by Jana. Tail actually's got to be careful. Going in. Oh, so close. Didn't want to flash in for the last hit, though.
Yeah, definitely didn't. Not with how strong turrets are level 1. Heal was still available for the AD carry, and it probably would have cost both summoner spells. But Gametee is losing out on this level 1, losing a lot of, I guess, vision over their side of the jungle with some deep wards going in.
Yeah, just nice to see a bit of pressure come up. Looks like Flandre and Bucker and pretty much most of the Snake side will actually go back and heal, make sure they have all their health for the next bit of action. But again, just some defensive trinket wards being set up here. And nothing too unusual is going to be happening at level 1. And we are going to break out into standard lanes.
Yeah, definitely standard lanes coming in here. I want to see if anything funny happens with donating of the Krugs or the Gromp, because we have seen a couple of junglers just smiting and then leaving it for their joy lanes. But it looks like Danger will be starting on the bottom side of the map. We'll get a nice leash, be able to... Jungler's opposite side of the map, so J4's gank definitely is open.
Yeah, so same path, but obviously moving on the opposite sides because they're mirrored. Good deep ward, though, by Snake. Actually sees that the Krugs are being started there by Jarvan, so he'll have knowledge of that. And, Crystal and Ella, are actually going to start the Gromp there.
Yeah, so they're looking to get an earlier level 2. Depending on how many melee minions they miss out, this might backfire because you do come back with lower HP. And if you can get forced out early... Oh, they gave 100% of XP to Crystal, so that's extremely smart. Looking for Sivir to poke people out early with that Janna shield.
Yeah, just wants to get in there. Can get aggressive. Again, we talk about Janna as being such a defensive support, but you can get aggressive early on with how strong the shield and the AD it gives is early on.
Yeah, you certainly can, especially if you can dodge out of that Phosphorus Bomb. Can trade very well back in response, but it looks like Tail and Dream will just be able to push out the bottom lane. They will get their level 2 now as well, so looking quite... I guess, passive for the early game.
And a good reaction by Gametee as well. Just a kind of a slow push started by Tail, semi-freezing that lane in the bottom lane. Able to just make things pretty easy for them, and they get to level 2 safely, which is the important part.
Yeah, so Flandre just CSing under the turret here. Aurelia CSs underneath the turret, completely fine. Levels up that heat test style, level 2, so not going to be much funny business coming in here. But as soon as the level 3, level 4 hits, you feel that Cassidy does have to be a little bit careful in that lane. Yeah,
and Cassidy is such an interesting laner to me, I think. I mean, he's got quite a lot of power, actually, which is surprising.
Yeah, he trades extremely well with his Q, that Null Sphere coming through in Danger. Wow, an early invade coming up into the top lane, possibly even looking for a dive. No, just looking for those Krugs. Not going to be able to find them, so he'll recall, pick up his jungle item.
Yep, Danger is going to go back and spend some of his money. I almost thought they were going to pick on Flandre there, who I imagine is quite a popular target for a lot of these teams, at least in the early stages of the LPL, before they really understand how the team ticks and what goes on there. Because, again, much like we only really know about how good Flandre is, that's kind of all the other teams might know as well.
Yeah, and we see favorable trade coming in the side for Snake's bottom lane. They're getting some wards out. Thought they were actually going to go a little bit deeper there, Crystal, but just getting the Tri-Brush warded, looking to push this lane. We see it all the time. As a little bit of action in the top lane. Down in the bottom lane, if you have a Janna Severe, you can just push as much as you want.
And it's just so annoying.
It's obnoxious. It's actually obnoxious.
It is obnoxious. As Sivir just so safe with the shield of Sandra, though. Going to go in. Barker could be in trouble. Does get locked up there. Good flash out of the Flag and Drake, though.
Yeah, but does get some damage down, as we see. Beast coming into the top lane. Was pinged out there, however, from Leftme, so no action going to ensue. So probably first successful game coming over from Danger here. He hasn't been farming as much, but a flash blown on Xerath. We mentioned it in the pregame. If he can revisit that lane, can try and get this Lissandra ahead.
And part of what makes Jarvan such a good pick is that he's able to apply pressure so quickly, as we do see Leo and Danger.
Oh, they will be spotted, but that might be a little bit too late.
Yeah, ward is coming in. Ella, though, will set up a tornado. Never mind. Doesn't even throw the tornado. It feels very safe. Oh, the dive in the top. Flandre is going to get the kill.
Yeah, so fantastic. This is exactly what we talked about. How to win on the side of Snake, get Flandre going. He's picked up the first kill. He will be able to shove the wave into the turret. Might cost a teleport as well coming out from Leftme, so terrific first move.
Yeah, unfortunately only picked up the assist, as Nunu did actually get the first blood there. But still a nice pick up here. Will blow the teleport there from Leftme, and yeah, advantage early on will go to Snake's top laner.
Yeah, so we said that Jarvan might have had the successful first gank, but the first blood does go over to Snake, so they've got the gold advantage. And wow, Flandre has roamed out.
Yeah, Leo could be in trouble. Flandre actually is ready to go, wants to put the team right on his back. Good flag and jack from Danger to keep him safe, though, and Flandre will wander back up towards the top lane.
That's crazy. That was a teleport coming in from an over-aggressive, I guess, Lissandra. Gets absolutely chunked out, doesn't have to burn her flash, but did use the ignite in that one, so good roam coming out of the top laner. Does mean that we'll be around the 10-11 minute mark when he does have it available again, so may lose a bit of dragon pressure. However, he'll be completely happy with that.
Yeah, not too far behind Leftme's Kassadin, thankfully, so going to be pretty in sync with the hearts. Flandre going to go back in here right onto Leftme. Just hitting him here. Beast is revisited. Good smite coming through. So many slows, and Kassadin cannot get out.
Yeah, and this time they give the kill over to the Aurelia, so that is a terrific move. Once you've blown Kassadin's flash, you can revisit as many times as you want. You mentioned that he didn't miss out on much CS. Actually, what he did was let the lane reverse. Once it hits turret, if you last hit, your lane reverses extremely quickly, makes you overextend more than you would like, and he had no choice but to try and push that out. Otherwise, Aurelia would have froze, so it does cost him another kill.
Yeah, and again, visiting that Kassadin lane before he's hit 6 with no flash is pretty easy kill there, and Beast on the Nunu early on is making some ganks happen. You don't normally say that about Nunu.
Yeah, and we spoke about how key vision would be out of the jungle to make Flandre safe top lane. Aurelia can split push quite well at 1 or 2 items, and straight away, first item out of Beast, Sightstone, looking to get that top side of the map covered.
And a big lead there as well. 900 gold for Flandre to spend about 1,000 gold ahead already. Dream though, going in and picks up Crystal with Ebb and Flow.
Bloodthirsty support coming out of Dream here. That was a very nice play. Got the flash as well, more importantly, out of
Sandra. Great tornado from Ella. The ultimate does come through, and that's an easy kill for Tail. Great roam from the mid.
Yeah, well-calculated dive coming through. So that's 2 members down. Will they rotate into a dragon? Maybe not. Looks like Beast is doing some counter-jungling in the bottom lane.
Got to be careful as well. Nunu is pretty gutsy to take an early dragon against, but Beast will recall. Leo will return to his lane as Bucker is just farming out in this mid as well. Bit of a CS lead there for Xerath, so doing reasonably well, but Leo has room quite early here.
Yeah, so and that's the thing. You can push in Xerath, but unless you can contribute to other lanes with your ultimate, it's very dangerous to roam because if you get stuck in the river, you're a very immobile mage. Can be blown up by that Jarvan Lissandra combo.
Flandre is just going in, although Leftme will fight him back here. Flandre turns around, whacks him in the face for one more auto, but Kassadin now hitting level 6, able to fight a little bit better.
Yeah, can trade extremely well, can riff walk away from that heat 10 style. I expect the Equilibrium Strike would be being maxed by Aurelia for that exact reason. Also gets a lot of good mix damage coming through. As we see the first invade coming out of East for a buff.
Just walking in, and he wants to try and take the red buff. Does actually snowball into Danger. He's just going in there. He does, as he said, have his ultimate. He's just going in. There's the Xerath ult as well. Danger's got to be careful. Does go down to the Xerath, though. Great play.
That was complete man-bone by Beast. Just walked at the support and jungler, able to pick up a kill for his mid laner, and then waltz out with the red buff.
I think he consumed that as the last little thing, but he's maxing snowball. Just, yeah, as you said, man-moding into the jungle. Just throwing snowballs, and Jarvan really can't fight. It's hilarious to me that Jarvan, a pretty decent duelist, can't fight a Nunu, but at this point, with how well Beast is playing and how much of a lead he's gotten early, it is bad news for Danger's early game.
Yeah, well, no matter how good you are at dueling, if you're 2 levels behind someone, you are not going to beat them in a 1v1, let alone if there's a Xerath lobbing arcane shots at you over the top.
And their Beast, again, just sort of does a bit of a drive-by there into Leo's lane. And they're actually going for this blue buff. Flandre is already there, and they're going to set up to try and take this buff away. There is a word for Gametee, though.
And once again, great vision on the top side of the map. However, what they have done is given up dragon control at this point. With 3 people over there, they need to run there as soon as possible because Flandre's teleport is still down.
Do have a smite, though, if Beast can make it back, but it's a long run from that blue buff there, although...
Oh, it looks like Crystal's been caught out.
GT wants to go for a trade instead. The bottom lane could be problems though for Siva, who's not quite able to get it. There's the ult coming through for Nami, and Tail gets that kill.
So the redeeming factor for Gametee is their bottom lane. 2-0-1, 66 CS, doing a terrific job on this Corki and able to secure the blue for his mid laner. That is so important to keep Lissandra farming.
Potentially the dragon, but Gametee don't want to go in for it. Bucker is back now on Xerath as well, able to poke them back if they did attempt it, so not going to go for it this time.
Yeah, definitely not. So whilst top lane looks like it's going in the favor of Snake, mid relatively even, although the kill and 10 CS advantage over there for Baka. So he's doing nicely on this Xerath. Bottom lane, however, Corki's going to reach that Trinity Force spike with those Sorcerer Boots nice and early. Will be able to, I guess, stall the game out for his team. Hope these mages can get back up.
Well, I think one of the cool things about Corki being so popular, and just Trinity Force in general, when those champions are strong, is that one of the things that kind of happens, especially now that Dragon's a little bit harder to take, is that your Trinity Force Power Spike actually aligns very nicely with a common first Dragon timing.
Yeah, it definitely does. And Corki is so important in those first timings for his poke as well as his AD damage. So he can use all of his auto attacks and those Sheen and Trinity Forces on the Dragon, but then use his missiles and his Phosphorus Bomb onto the enemy team and try and force them away at the same time. So he's a very, very good zoning AD. In saying that, if you've got a Sivir and Aurelia, I guarantee that they're going to be able to get in on top of that Corki pretty quickly.
Yeah, if there's an issue here for that first Dragon fight as the players sort of jockey for position, I think it's definitely Aurelia, Sivir, and the Nunu, I guess, as well, who's been running in. Potentially picking up your carry versus just being able to protect them and get your double AP rolling as well. But Dragon not quite going to be attempted yet as Beast just keeps going in.
Yeah, has been spotted out by that Wolf Smite, however, so nice job from Danger there. He's going to be able to pick up his Wolves once again. But he is being picked on a little bit by this Nunu and he is falling slowly behind.
I mean, I think it's great. We just haven't seen that much Nunu in this jungle, but it feels like with the minions being so strong, the reward for counter jungling is quite high. So I just love this pick a lot from Beast, and he's playing it very aggressively.
Yeah, and we speak a lot about how zone control and how he can shut people down attack speed-wise with his ultimate, as we might have a little bit of a skirmish.
He has maybe too many friends here. Beast actually just stealing the Gromp away. Flandre rotated down to help him, but Beast's like, yeah, thanks for your jungle.
They recognize that Jarvan, still level 5, doesn't have the ultimate, no mana as well. There is no way he can waltz into there and fight this Nunu, let alone with backup coming out of Flandre. Clears out vision on the top side of the map, and I just keep going back to it, but this vision control is so impressive from Snake. If you look at the top side of their jungle, it is completely lit up. Flandre is going to know when anyone is within, like, the river of his top lane.
Yeah, and I think maybe dial back a bit and realize that Beast is 2 levels ahead of this Jarvan, who still hasn't been able to get his ultimate. We talk so often about Jarvan being a high-pressure jungler. Danger has not been able to impact the map at all in the first 12 minutes of this game.
Yeah, and we said he had a good first gank, but as soon as he tried to go back to farming, people were just all over him as Barker maybe closed in on the... No, zoned off the cannon creep though, so mini win.
Yeah, was hiding in the Raptor area trying to go over with his Z. Flandre will clear out the top lane as well. Actually has 2 parts of his Trinity Force done as well, so looking good. And out to an early lead here, our Snake, about 2,000 gold or so, just under.
Yeah, and 40 CS in the top lane. That is gone from 10 to absolutely massive in no time at all. Only 12 minutes in, so nearly perfect CS coming out of the top laner to Snake on that 10 CS per minute mark nearly. And wow, Tail. So much pressure now on the AD carry from Gametee to really put this team on his back.
Yeah, the added bonus as well on that top lane is that the longer Flandre delays that Rod of Ages, the better it gets for his team, because that's when Cassidy really starts getting going. But in the bottom lane, you can see Tail and Dream continuing to push aggressively. Little lead here for Tail's Corki of about 6 to 10 CS or so, but nothing massive so far. And you're right, Tail, who's almost got that Trinity Force ready to go in a couple minutes, really needs to step up for that first major fight.
Yeah, and I love the back out of Flandre to pick up the Merc Treads. I talk about boots to on Aurelia so much to be able to cancel auto attacks and really stick onto AD carry. So getting that, especially when there's a Lissandra with so much CC, he is a priority target right now, and he doesn't want to be locked down.
Looks like Dream coming in. I thought Beast was maybe wandering down to the bottom lane, but they'll actually go in for the trade there. Ella gets poked back here, and still this bottom lane can't aggressively fight here, as our Crystal and Ella are going to have to play a little bit safer in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and danger time for Cassidy, and he's farming with abilities at the moment, which is not great. Freeze coming into the top lane if Flandre wants it as well. And once again, vision control completely in on the side of Snake. Beast just wanders up, takes out a pig ward, and there is absolutely nothing Danger can do.
Just as a quick thing as well, he has 1 point in consume, so he's going like full utility here with the snowball. Max, and then coming up with a blood ball as well. Barker with a good poke. Goes to Danger. Can he find the next bolt? Flash almost enough. Does get hit by the bolt, but stays alive.
Both teleports up. This will be a red buff, and if they go quickly enough, might even be able to transition this into a dragon, because Danger has to back. He has no flash. Yeah, this is a very, very good showing from Beast.
Yeah, they can go in, and Beast Nunu has been just that here in this game. Flandre takes out the top lane turret as well, and now Snake will go for their first dragon of the game. Trinity Force not yet done for Corki. He hasn't gone back to spend it yet. And Snakey just going to walk in and take his Dragon. Flandre even teleports. Stream's in trouble. And he's maybe trying to get away here. Does get Equilibrium Strike. And he gets eaten alive by Crystal, who gets the last hit.
Yeah, even though Dream went down there, good positioning awareness to not lead them to his AD carry. If the reset had to come out of Aurelia with the boots too, as well as the move speed for Sivir coming across as well, that could have been even worse. So they pick up a kill, they pick up a dragon, and now they have complete control of this mid game.
Just such an impressive showing from Beast early game. Still 2 levels ahead of this Jarvan the entire time. And Flandre, he might not be playing Fizz or Yasuo, but he is living up to the carry top lane moniker right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. 41 CS. He's had 2 instrumental teleports. Of course, that first one really making sure Lissandra didn't push that lead in the mid lane after the flash was blown. And able to, we thought might just split push for a lot of the game, but able to get around and affect the map.
And Nunu is about 1,400 gold ahead of Danger, despite taking about as many minions here. So the counter jungling is just paid off so well in this early stage of the game. And Leftme's in trouble as Flandre will also dive in there as well. There's a flash from Flandre, good Equilibrium Strike, and one last auto cleans him out.
Yeah, understanding the high cooldown of that wrist walk. When it is only level 1, of course, he's level 10 in that top lane. So able to get over the wall, pick himself up a 1v1 kill. And once again, Danger was right there, but if he had have tried anything, he was in trouble himself.
He was, and now Snake will continue to push their lead here in this game. 3,000 gold ahead early on as Crystal will get the second turret for their team now as well. And Sivir powering up a Brutalizer actually going to go along with those Infinity Edge components.
Yeah, that's
twice now we've seen that, I think, on Sivir today.
Yeah, I like that build. Able to get in there a little bit more movement speed as well. Of course, with the shortened auto attack range on Sivir, it is very, very important to be able to position yourself around the fight quickly. And they've picked up all 3 outer turrets now, it looks like. Maybe able to defend this one off.
Now, Crystal going to get in there. Ella with a shield if he needs it. There's the last auto attack. We'll clean out that mid lane turret. Lissandra was thinking about it, but doesn't go in. And Leo's in trouble. The ult hit on. Does have to ult herself, though. But here's the teleport coming through now for Cassid. And Beast could be in trouble, actually, off to the side. The wave goes out from Nami as well. But everyone's safe, actually, and Snake get away with it.
Yeah, Leo's so low there. Couldn't go in there and use anything, really. So the push down mid lane continues. And we talked about Nunu and everyone else's synergy. Nunu Xerath just makes it so easy to hit that ultimate. Snowball and the ultimate that comes through, that Absolute Zero, just means that you cannot get out of the way.
Yeah, and I like the early game synergy there as well, just because, oh man, Beast is going to be in trouble. Flashes out from the Cataclysm of Danger and just going to walk away out of the enemy jungle for about the 10th time in this game.
Yeah, so Danger finally catching up, although still hasn't finished that jungle item, has had to, I guess, spend a lot of gold in getting some wards into his jungle. We've seen him do that a few times as well. He's been collapsed on by Flandre.
Yeah, Flandre coming in again. Beast will slow him out. The good Equilibrium Strike, so much slowing, and Flandre picks up an easy kill.
Yeah, it looks like he wasn't even moving there. He's just going so slow. Needs to pick up those Merc treads for himself to be able to get out of some of that CC with the Equilibrium Strike coming through. Will look to get control over the top side of their jungler again, but they're happy. They picked up the kill. They got rid of a couple of the camps, and they're just going to go back and buy. Looks like it will be a Frozen Heart being picked up by Aurelia here, so looking to get rid of some of that damage from Corki. I don't agree with the back because Corki does a lot of mixed damage to himself. There's not really any attack speed coming through, and there are 2 AP, so maybe a Banshee's Veil would have been a better first defensive item.
We'll have to see here as Crystal will back off in the bottom lane. Possibly has enough money for that Infinity Edge, but go back and spend that gold whenever he gets it. And that'll be a good jump in power there as well. I do love that counter juggling has always been a team thing, and Beast has played the top side of the map so well. You mentioned that Xerath combos well with the slows that he has, but even early game, just knowing that your Xerath can help you when you're invading has been such a big thing, and Flandre has always joined Beast when he can.
Yeah, and we speak about mid-champions that can help without necessarily moving out of their lane. Xerath does need to move a little bit if he wants to impact, but that ultimate is so long range that if you lock someone down, he can come through with the cleanup, and it's kind of that alley-oop style, I guess, of counter-invading. So yeah, really well played by Beast in this early game. You'd have to say that a lot of this pressure across the map is a direct result of him getting ahead. And now it's even eased up pressure in the bottom lane. Crystal able to pick up that Infinity Edge. He's completely fine in this mid game as well.
Yeah, evened up a lot of that CS. They're basically equal. In fact, now exactly equal as Crystal continues to last hit. Dragon up in a minute 35 or so, and Baron up in a minute. So Snake now have a whole new bunch of objectives to think about as well. And Nunu is up pretty good at controlling those neutral objectives.
Yeah, he certainly is, with the Blood Boil coming through. Lends some, I guess, attack speed through to Flandre as well as a Consume and Smite to be able to secure some objectives for his team. But it looks like they're just happy to siege here. They understand that they can't really be engaged on because they have this big buff tanky Nunu in the front lane. Happy to poke off with the Xerath and then take the tower with Sivir.
Flandre might even dive here. Actually, he's off around to the side, maybe looking for a flank. Leftme's teleport is also down in this situation, so cannot contribute. And snaking in a wait for a minute, maybe then go for the dragon, but a really strong siege being set up now.
Yeah, the problem with this is that mid lane is completely even, so they've committed that much, and there is some good wave clear that comes out of Lissandra Corki. So they've decided to slam Flandre into the mid lane. Dragon will be up relatively soon, so maybe just try and get as much pressure as they can at this point, try and poke them out, then rotate into a neutral objective.
Flandre does have his teleport, so if he wants to join in, he can. He'll now start on the tier 2 turret as on. Leftme still trapped in the top lane. Daz started walking down now. Beast going to get some wards in. Snake, really strong wards on this bottom half of the map near the red side, and Flandre's just beaten on that turret.
Well, that's half HP before any reaction came through as well, and they've committed all of their members across, not left anyone bottom side, so Crystal may be able to get some sneaky auto attacks down here as well.
And we talk a lot about Sivir's pressure as a push champion. I think we're seeing a lot of that now in this mid game. As Crystal's just beasting down these waves as quickly as he can. And yes, there's great wave clear here on the double AP for Gametee, especially with the Corki Lissandra, but it doesn't matter. Snake is still able to apply enough pressure, and Dragon's now back up.
Yeah, so they got some damage on the turrets. They're going to send Flandre top lane to pick up that nice big creep wave that's up there. And without even burning a teleport, we'll be able to pick up the second dragon of the game. So Snake looking very much in control.
And again, I love the decision to push bottom lane especially as well. They got all of the deep wards in the red side jungle, which made that next dragon so safe.
Yeah, and there was just, because they pushed and starved vision of the river, it was going to be a blind, I guess, chase into the dragon pit. And with a Xerath as well as a Nunu, that's just too dangerous at this point of the game. Good decision out of Gametee to let it go, but if they don't catch up in some way relatively soon, maybe set up a gank rush for someone, then they're just going to fall further and further behind. And I didn't think their composition was good late game, as we have another little scuffle in the bottom side of the jungle.
Beast is going to walk in. Good stun actually landing onto Dream. Baka will follow in. The heal does get used there as Leftme will come in as well. There the bolts coming out. Does miss one. Oh my god, Flandre just going in. Flashes out after getting the blade surge. Really wanted that kill.
Yeah, he is so bloodthirsty. 4-0-2, and as a top laner to have 6 of 7 kill participation, that is absolutely massive.
Exceptional CS as well here for Flandre as he just cleans out minions here in the mid lane as well. And they're going to go it again. Snake happy with the 1-4 split push setup right now. And their comp actually lends itself quite nicely to it. We talked about the big disengage elements of this comp. So dangerous for Gametee to try and engage.
Yeah, and able to take down their first inner turret of the game. It's in the all-important bottom lane. But look at vision control. Gametee have been absolutely starved by Snake. They cannot go anywhere. They've lost complete control of their side of the jungle, which is just so much resources being given over to Snake, and they're just pushing this lead down their throat at the moment.
Flandre going to waddle up to the top lane now as well, back to his home and clear out as much as he can. He's got Spectre Scout going, so probably a Banshees, maybe a Spirit Visage coming out there to go along with that beautiful Trinity Force. I actually quite like the early home guards as well for Flandre, wanting to impact as much of the map as possible.
Yeah, wanting to be able to get in there with his teleport. Look, we've seen how deep he is willing to go. Definitely have. And he's going back, looking to, I guess, pick up his next major item. You would think that wouldn't be too far away.
We'll see what happens here. Rabadon's Death Cap up for Baka now as well. Speaking of major items, Aegis is done for Nunu as well, working towards his locket. And Ghostblade was actually the item there for Crystal Sivir to go along with that Infinity Edge.
Yeah, and we spoke about how Ghostblade does give that little bit of extra movement speed to be able to position around the fight. Maybe get away from the Kassan or the Lissandra, so good pick up there. Flandre has literally gone to the shop and said, give me one of everything.
Yeah, he's buying a lot of components, just wants to get a lot of mixed defensive items, it seems like here. But with that Trinity Force, oh, he's actually going to get aggressed on Danger. We'll go in there. Dodges the bubble with the Blade Surge, though. And now Leftme's going to go in. Can 4 people from Gametee kill Flandre. Ella comes in. Crystal pops his ult.
And now the re-engage.
Yeah, going to go in. Tails off to the side, but he's kind of flanked there. Good poke there. We'll kick them back. Leo wants to go in. He maybe doesn't know. Can't quite find it. Flandre, though, does get out of the ultimate there from Lissandra. So many shields and heals. Keep him alive for so long, but there's Leo. Goes into the stasis there with Zonis, and they will pick up that first kill. Jana, though, gets the one in return. Sivir gets that. Xerath with the third, and Danger's forced back towards his turret.
We talked about Nunu's zone control. That was a 5-man ultimate there, fully channeled. That is so much damage. And look how tanky he is, just walks up to the turret. That is a 1 team fight, as well as 2 objectives here, with top turret also going to go down.
And Baka making his contribution with his ultimate to the team fight. Rotates already to the top that Flandre had been working on, and that guy lived for way too long.
Yeah, we said that his build had a little bit of everything, and that's why everyone was beating on him. He got some nice Janna shields as well as the Aegis coming out from Nunu, so he was just that tanky guy, had his passive for the whole time as well, so they couldn't lock him down. You saw how quickly that Glacial Tomb fell off, and yeah, he's just an absolute monster.
Yeah, I mean, Aurelia, kind of interesting, we haven't really talked about Aurelia versus Lissandra that much, but just from watching him get out of that ultimate, seems very powerful, especially when you're ahead like this.
Yeah, Aurelia's passive is huge against people that rely on lockdown CC and consistent damage, because it means that she's out of it a little bit earlier than you would normally chain your abilities, and you can't get as many Qs in as you normally would. So it really cuts Lissandra's damage, in particular, down in this team composition.
Flandra's level 15, by the way, so he has gone huge for his team in this first game, and Snake have actually got themselves a pretty ridiculous lead. 9,000 gold, basically, at 25 minutes in this game is a massive lead on this particular patch, and Snake continuing to choke the vision away from Gametee here.
Yeah, and Snake understanding exactly where they need to go at what time. So they've taken all outers. They understand that Flandre is the strongest person on the map by an absolute mile. Send him into the bottom lane. Once again, take complete vision control of their whole jungle, and then they can push pressure Baron with this huge Aurelia that's going to need attention.
Yep, Locket of the Iron Solari and the Mikhail's Crucible also done on Snake's side. So some good utility items coming through there as well. Kind of looking over to Gametee. Now, decent items coming through. The Royal was done for Cass. He's got his Zhonya's now as well. Zhonya's and Marilla Normicon finished there for Lissandra, and almost at 2 good items here coming out for Tail. He's got a pickaxe event picked up, and his Trinity Force as well. So decent items, but not quite enough gold yet for Gametee's carries.
Yeah, and this is so sad for Tail after a great early game being forced into Trinity Force Last Whisper. That is a desperation buy on Corki. That means their front line is that tanky that your mixed damage and Gatling gun cannot shred them, and you're forced to pick up a gold inefficient item for Corki. Great item on a lot of other AD carries, but because of the mixed damage, not so great on Corki. I like the swap of Flandre back into the top lane now with the recall. They understand that Dragon's coming up, so Baron isn't the next objective. It's a little bit too tanky at this point in the game. They'll secure the next Dragon for themselves 27 seconds away and be able to pick up an even further lead.
Surgical teleport timing there for Flandre as well. New is coming back up, so has that ready to go. Looks like GT pick up maybe the first red buff of the game as Tail will finally get it away from Beast, who had done so much counter jungling. But this Dragon is back up, as you've said. The Scuttle Crab, nope. It's going to get ignored, scuttle away.
You get to live this time, friend.
And now Crystal's going to continue this push. And we're maybe even going to 1-1-3 at this point, or 1-3-1. Flip pushing. Snake is constantly pressuring all these lanes.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to get the lanes as far down as possible so they can see the approach of Gametee if they do contest the Dragon. If they're going to contest one, they need to do it within the next 12 minutes, because you feel with how far ahead they are, if Snake can pick up the 5th Dragon during a team fight, they will absolutely destroy Gametee.
This 3rd Dragon's coming through as well. This is going to be uncontested here by GT, who just can't afford to walk towards this pit right now. There it is, the Snake do finish it off. And I have to say, you know, for a Chinese team, especially with a lot of young, aggressive players, Snake have played a very controlled 27 minutes.
Yeah, they certainly have, and I'm surprised how controlled Gametee have been in response. We said they like to play for that late game. It is one of their styles, but when you are getting pressured like this, sometimes you do have to bite the bullet and still try and make plays. They pulled the trigger once in the mid lane on Flandre. Maybe not the appropriate person to do it on. Maybe try and see if you can get anyone else split up. But Snake understanding that, just grouping so well.
Yeah, Flandre's Randuin's is done as well. He's got a Glacial Shroud, a Spectre's Count, and a spare Ruby Crystal as well. So just a bevy of tank items coming through for Flandre. His CS, by the way, is just ridiculous in this game.
Yeah, he's ahead of that 10 CS per minute, as you ideally want to be every single time on an Aurelia. She just scales so beautifully with items. Can have a rough time if she gets started with CS, but wow, he has not been at all this game, and he's a beast.
And I love Crystal's item choice here as well. Kind of knowing the situation the game's in. Went for maybe kind of an efficient Ghost Blade to match the Brutalizer, one of her early power. But a Bloodthirster coming through now. Really nice stuff.
Yeah, and Pinkward's being put down at Baron now. Complete vision control. Scuttle Crab being picked up there as well. Meaning that if they do decide to start Baron and want to turn around, they have a very, very quick initiate with that Nunu and, of course, Sivir ultimate coming through.
Oh, I actually forgot about Nunu as well. I mean, Crystal can afford, in being this far ahead, to just go 3 big damage items like this and go big AD. But with with Beast in there as well. Oh, that was cute. Sees Flandre and immediately runs away. I think that's a pretty good barometer for this game and how it's going.
Yeah, it definitely was. They've once again committed all of their members to Flandre, and he's waltzed away again.
Beast is actually flash snowballed in onto Leo. Flandre goes so deep there and gets ulted up, but it doesn't matter. Beast with a good ult as well will zone everyone else out, and Flandre still tanky. Good monsoon flashes after Leo wants the kill, but a good exhaust. Great stun though, does die to the ignite. Now Leftme's in trouble as Lissandra goes down. Xerath getting those particular kills. Bucker will keep running in, gonna pose those ultimates out. Doesn't quite get that kill as Zonius comes out, but mistimes it does get the kill as Beast gets that, and a 2-for-2 trade actually across the board as Tail is running very far over, but Ella is in so much trouble. Forced to flash, does not go down, able to get away though.
Rocket just missing, so an even team fight when they're that far ahead, that's got to be counted as a win, although it's not done yet. Bucker closing in.
Oh great, slow there, does it. Can he nail the Q? Good juke there from Dream, but here comes Beast, snowballs him in the face, and there's the third kill, and I think it's 3-for-2 now.
Yeah, that team fight was so split on the side of Snake, probably the best Gametee could have hoped for, and it just wasn't enough. They brute force their way through a team fight, and that is so scary. If you play a team fight possibly as bad as you can with your AD carry being caught out and your Fed member being killed first, and you still run over the top of the end of it, that just shows how strong they are at this point.
I think Gametee may have learned a lesson here. Never go full Flandre. Every time they've tried to kill that man, it has gone horribly wrong.
And he's picked up a Banshee's Veil, so he's even harder to kill now.
And chasing down these APs, he is relentless, by the way. He flashed after Leo despite still having a Zonia's because he just wanted the kill.
Yeah, certainly did. And we see that Tails in the bottom lane now. Looks like all 5 members will be heading towards that Baron area. Can't afford to stay down there that long is Tail. He wants to pick up as much CS as possible, but Baron just falls so quickly against this team.
Going in for that Blade of the Ruined King as well, which is very typical Chinese Corki style. Dream has got to be careful, but some really smart wards coming out will be cleared out there by Flandre with his sweeping lens, and Baron is very much on the menu now for Snake.
Yeah, so Snake setting up good vision control of this. Ooh, just missing that stun there from Xerath, but nice poke coming out of Sivir. Trying to strangle them out of the Baron area, so then if they go missing for a couple of minutes, they don't want to check it, they don't want to face check, and they've started it up.
Yep, going to go in now as well. As Snake are going to start this Baron. This should die quite quickly, although...
Yeah, that one's falling so fast.
Gametee are coming in. Ella's actually going to zone them off here. Baron's still about half health left, so maybe the Seal can come in. They've got to be careful. Beast, can he time it? Does get it. Sivir actually picks up the kill, pops the ultimate, and GT immediately run away, but Flandre is running so deep in. A good wave, though, comes in. Leo going to get eaten by the Xerath poke damage. Leftme also zone using. Flandre wants to keep going in. Bucket there with the first kill. There's the second, as Sivir's going to get that one, and they'll keep running in here. Danger, run away, buddy.
Yeah, he just has to hightail it out of there. Great control of vision from Snake to pick up the Baron. And we spoke about how quickly they turn around with that Blood Boil on Flandre, with a Sivir ultimate coming out, and there was absolutely nothing Gametee could do there.
Now, I have to ask you, I have a trivia question. Is that Nunu item, based on this components, what I think it could be if this game keeps going?
Yeah, that's a Zeke's Herald, I think it's called nowadays.
That's awesome stuff. Beast just committing to the plan of keeping everyone safe and making these carries even bigger. And it's just great to see Aurelia played like quite a heavy carry, it feels like. We've got Crystal, of course, who's in there as their AD carry, but supporting Flandre as well. I actually missed that in the draft, so this Nunu pick working quite well with both the AD carry and their top lane pick.
Yeah, and even mid, as we spoke about. Flandre is that scary in this game that no one's been able to itemize any MR. So Bucker's just gone complete offense mode without even a Void Staff at this point. He's chunking people out.
Yeah, clearing out with a very respectable CS score himself as well, closing it on 300 about 32 minutes. Flandre, though, continuing at about the 10 per minute clip that he's just been performing so well here. And Sivir as well, I mean, so many advantages here for Snake.
And that CS is impressive by itself, but when you put his kill participation in as a top laner at 13 of 15 kills, you understand how much he has controlled his map, his understanding of minion waves, and how he's just able to absorb as much experience and gold as he can.
Yeah, dragging up soon, and the gold lead here for Snake is just unbelievable in this picking up 14,000 or 15,000 or so with some quick awful pastry math here. But this dragon's back up, and this is, again, uncontestable by Gametee.
Yeah, and this is number 4, which means structures will start falling incredibly quick. When you have an IE Ghostblade Bloodthirster that looks like going into a last Whisper Neck, just counting on Nunu with that Blood Boil to give the attack speed, just going to chunk out structures.
The Zeeks has been finished as well there by Beast, so playing incredible support jungle play here in this particular game. Set up the other game, so on the Flandre wants to go in, but decides against it this time. You get to live for now.
Yeah, a little bit out of range, otherwise I'm sure that would have been Once again, another little bit of aggro play out of Flandre. Now pressuring the bottom lane. This is smart play because top, of course, not as important strategically on the map. So if you don't feel you can close the game out within maybe the next 5 minutes, good to push in the bottom lane, although I don't think that will be a problem on the side of Snake.
Super minions pushing in down the mid as well for Snake, so they've got plenty of time, no need to rush with Baron buff still on them as well, actually. And Flandre just going to go in, going to be so aggressively positioned there under that turret, and they're just going to wail away.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're counting on Flandre just being that tank, and wow, now they've started the fight.
Tail's got to be careful. There's the Xerath Waltz coming in. Tail does get sniped by Baka, and they're going to dive in there for their first kill. Beast pops his ult just to zone everyone out, and there's 2 inhibs for Snake.
Flash comes in from Flandre. He's not done yet.
Danger does go down there. Flandre getting his next kill there, popping the locket there, and Snake want to close out this game. There's 1 inhibitor turret going down. The second will follow now as well. And what a dominating game 1 here by Snake.
That is an absolute massacre coming out from Snake, rolling over the top of Gametee. We said these were 2 unknown teams, and wow, what a game.
And you know, Flandre, for all the hype, he didn't play LeBlanc AD top. But after that Aurelia game, I think the hype is justified just after that first game. Really put the team on his back. But Snake, to their credit, just played well as a team. That was the most impressive thing to me.
Yeah, Flandre is the most, I guess, obvious person to look at that game. But in the jungle, running around like crazy. The Nunu pick coming up absolutely huge for Snake. They had complete control of objectives, which just meant no pressure could go top.
Yeah, and Beast just counter-juggled the pants off of poor Jarvan there. We look at Jarvan as such a strong early-game jungler. Could make no impact on the map for 12 minutes just because of how thoroughly counter-jungled he was getting by Beast's Nunu.
Yeah, and his gold investment from Out of Danger to have to light up his own jungle just starved him away from any items, didn't get rolling as Jarvan. He was nearly a walking ward towards the end of that game.
Yeah, and just, I mean, Gametee just never got a foothold in that game. The bottom lane showed some signs of life early on, but even that with the advantage that Snake got on the other 2/3 of the map was just not enough there for Gametee. And I don't know what you really look at when you move into a game like that, because that was a beating.
I think what you look at is you go, okay, we went double AP and we went with 2 characters that need to scale. So let's pick some champions that can make an impact in the early game. Let's go super aggro, try and flip it completely, get in their face, get something to, I guess, be able to back that Jarvan up in the early game. Of course, Cassidy with that roller needs to scale up. And let's try and get our lanes winning so they can't do it to us again and collapse on that counter-jungling style.
I mean, I'm not even sure. I mean, Beast did gank the top lane, which is an unusual thing for Nunu to do, but I guess in such a long lane, it's quite a bit easier to get kills.
And Cassidy gave up his flash early as well. So that was another reason that he just was able to revisit.
So a smart play there, but I feel like Beast just kind of kept Jarvan off so all the other lanes could farm up. I guess feel confident in Flandre's play there. The mid lane play was great as well, but for me the biggest thing is they just played so well as a team. That's not what I expected coming out of the team where the only thing somebody could tell me was Flandre was a god.
Yeah, and I guess the one redeeming factor on Gametee's side is that their bottom lane did well early. With the Corki pickup, able to go 2-0-1 with Crystal. Alla was able to, I guess, sorry, not Crystal, it was Tail and Dream, of course, able to put a bit of pressure around the map. And if the rest of the map doesn't, I guess, collapse is a word I'd probably use, as quickly as it did that game, then they may be able to get something going.
Well, it looks like we are going to hop over to a quick break, guys. We'll be back. Game 2 between Gametee and Snake. We'll be back right on this. And after that, you do not want to miss anything.